This is question 29-10 from chapter 29, and we're given a table here that tells us the labor supplied, the total physical product, the hourly wage, total wage, cost, and marginal factor cost for a particular firm. And we're told that in the short run, the tool manufacturer has a fixed amount of capital, labor is a variable input, and the cost and output structure that the firm faces are what we see in the table here. So we're to suppose that the firm, that for the firm, the goods market is perfectly competitive, so they don't get to choose the price. They have to adopt the market price, which is $4 at each quantity supplied by the firm. So the first question they ask is, what's the amount of labor that this profit-maximizing firm will hire? And remember, as is the case when we're talking about how to choose how many products to make, and also when we're talking about how many people we want to hire, or how many machines we want to buy, or anything like that, we always want to produce or to hire or to buy or whatever at the point where our marginal revenue equals our marginal cost. And in the case of something like labor or machines or something like that, where we're talking about factors, input factors for production, we use a little bit slightly different wording, but it's the same concept. So here we just want where our marginal factor cost, which they give us in the table, is equal to our marginal revenue product. In other words, we want to hire the number of workers, or up to a number of workers, where that last worker that we hire brings in as much money as he costs. Hopefully that makes sense. So this is just the same as in our product markets that we talked about before, when we talked about producing at a point where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. In that case, we were talking about let's produce where it costs us the same amount to produce this product as this product will bring to us. So the same thing applies in the labor market. We want to hire the number of workers where it costs us the same amount to hire that last worker as that last worker is going to bring to us. So we're already given our marginal factor cost. So we don't have to do any calculating for that. The table gives us that. What we do need to calculate, though, is our marginal revenue product for each worker. I'm going to use Excel to help me calculate this. You can do it on paper with a pen, of course. But I've already copied into Excel the first couple of columns out of this table from the homework question. So I've got my labor supplied column and my total physical product column. And what we want to find is our marginal revenue product. All that means is how much money is this last employee that we just hired going to bring into the company. So we can look at how many of our product we're able to produce because we hired this last person, and then multiply that by how much each of those products brings us, which we're told is $4, right? So the first column doesn't make much sense because we don't know what happened with 9 workers, so we can't tell the marginal increase with our 10th worker. So we'll start with our 11th worker. And we know that now, when we went from having 10 workers to having 11 workers, we also went from being able to produce 100 product to 109 product. So that extra worker gave us 9 extra units of what we're producing. So we know we have 9 extra products, and if each of those products is sold in the market for $4, then we multiply that 9 by 4, and we know that hiring that 11th worker brings us an additional $36. Okay? So that's all we're doing. That's all we do here to find the marginal revenue product of each of these workers. We just want to find out from hiring that one more worker, how much more money do I get? So in this case, for the 12th worker, when we went from having 11 workers to having 12 workers, we went from having 109 products to 116 products. So I'll just ask Excel to do the math for me. This really is the formula for marginal revenue product, where I want to say my new number of products, which is 116, minus my old number of products, which is 109, on top of my fraction. And then I want to divide that by the new number of workers minus my old number of workers, which is just 1, right? Because we went from 11 to 12. And then we want to, so I'll divide by 1. And then we want to multiply that whole thing by the revenue, which is 4. Revenue per product. So this here, it doesn't really have to be this complicated for when you're given a table that increases by just 1 worker at a time. You don't really have to have this divided by 1 in here, but that's just to be completely thorough. If say we jumped by 2 workers, we would want to take the average here by dividing by 2. But really all we've done is say our new number of products is 116, our old number of products is 109, so we increased by 116 minus 109, which is just 7 products, right? And then we multiply that by the price, which is the same thing we did up above. So from hiring our 12th worker, we make a new $28. So that's our marginal revenue product for the 12th worker. Same thing for the 13th worker. So I have 121 products for my 13th worker minus my 116 products for my 12th worker, and we'll multiply that by 4, which is our market price of the product. So for the 13th worker, our marginal revenue product is 20, and I'll get Excel to go ahead and fill this on in for us. Okay, so now we've calculated our marginal revenue product for each number of laborers. And remember, we want to hire where our marginal revenue product equals our marginal factor cost. Marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Makes sense, right? So that turns out to be at 13 workers, where we're told in the original table that at 13 workers, our marginal factor cost is 20, and we just calculated that at 13 workers, our marginal revenue product is 20. So for 13 workers, our marginal revenue product equals our marginal factor cost. Therefore, that's how many workers we'll want to hire. So we can put that in here, our 13. And the next question they ask is, what's the wage rate at that number of workers? And we can just pull that straight out of the table, because they tell us our hourly wage rate when we have 13 workers is $8. The table tells us. So we'll plug that in, and we're good to go. If you have any more questions, feel free to shoot me an email, stop by office hours.